and all the things that he is. He also tends to set traps really well, and so you create opportunities for your opponent to go wrong. A lot of times they will. Fabi tried to do that. I'll just show real quick the trick. He put the rook on the 8th rank, hoping for a discovered check that might actually pick up the rook. If you're careless and give a check, things could have gone terribly wrong. But Magnus didn't. He quickly put the king off of the 8th rank, and we maintain ourselves in the Vancouver position. As Marie said, the rook is defending laterally. And
but now, is rook b6 the only move? Because every other rook square, you land up with that trap that you were just pointed out. Rook d6, rook e6, rook f6. Or not. No. I thought king is on 8-7. He's moved out of it.
Yeah. But that trap is still in the air if this rook touches too close to the king. So Magnus is being careful.
He has to be alert.
He can do it. He can do it right now because also I noticed when it was king on e7, rook on a7, Magnus moved back with the king to h8.
Yeah.
So just making sure you sidestep any of the checks. Yeah, and I had a blind spot right now. I thought Magnus's king is on h8, but you'd still have the b6 square in that case.
Yep.
Yeah, it reminds me of queen endings when you don't want the king to be on the same rank, or you want it when you're the side with the queen, so the kings are on the same line so that you can block with your queen. Somebody, if they play check, you just block with your queen, and that pins the queen to the queen. So you like having the kings on the same rank. So in this position, this is what Fabi wants, except his rook is nowhere, like it can't play rook e8 at the moment to make it work because the move is going to be rook takes on a6. Now, this one, there's a small trap involved as well.
Yes.
You want to play king h6 now? Ooh, look at that. That's a great pawn to win. Well, I'm going to hit you with a check.
Oh, you start with a7.
No, you start first with the push. We start with the push, and then now suddenly you go, oh, what happened here? Well, what happened was, you just lost the game, son. So, Magnus not taking.
No.
Magnus.
Although, funnily enough, you can actually take with the rook because you have time to get back to the lateral check, and the king still hasn't gotten there. So what's funny is Magnus is pausing a moment here for station identification on the Magnus Carlsen Endgame Network.
I like that.
Yeah, the main point being rook takes a7 allows rook a6, and then you don't, just one tempo. Can I just play king b7? Just let me do it, please. But rook takes and then a6, then rook takes an a7, if we may show that line real fast. Rook takes an a7. If only you could play after rook a6.
You have to go rook a6.
If only you could play king b7.
One square too slow.
Just one square too slow. But now you can't play king to b7 because you start getting checked.
The king has been ridiculed its whole life. Too weak, too slow. That's what they told the king.
Heard that one before.
And he's taken it with
someone,
I know that it's a draw, and it is definitely now past midnight.
But it's a good point. If the king was not too weak, too slow, if the king could move 2 squares, this is a winning endgame. But either way, either the rook will come back laterally, everyone, and we're back to the same idea we've been showing all night, or you push a7, as Maurice pointed out, and the rook comes behind, and now your king no longer has that shield that you needed. You needed this square. You needed the pawn to be here, but it's not. And so my mouse is slipping a little bit, and the king has nowhere to hide from the onslaught of checks.
Yeah. And I think to your point, if after rook g6, that position that you had a7, here, if a7, now if you go rook a6, you get that spot. Now rook a6 would be a big blunder because white is in time with king b7.
So now you come down. You could probably check laterally too, actually.
You have to. I think that's the only move.
No. Oh, I'm sorry. The pawn's on a7. I was thinking of the same idea. Yep. Rook g7, and the king has nowhere to hide. So this pawn on a7 is a problem whenever the king is trying to escape checks in these rook endings.
Could we complete this, please? Because some people might be wondering, if king to d6 here, we give another check, king e5. Can't we come closer to that king? To that rook? And
yes, and
yeah, you can if you want to, but nothing's going to happen. you got 0. And now Fabi, head in hand. What he's doing right now is he's just getting over dejection.
Yeah.
He knows
he had it.
There's nothing here. He may not know he had it.
I think he does, Maurice.
I'd be curious to know.
I think he realizes it, that he messed up when he took that pawn, because It was really close. These guys, they're just too strong to not know. But you're right. I mean, I think we're going to ask him at some point, did he feel it? Where did it miss? And we'll know the answer to it. But if I had to guess, I think he knows. All right, so he again lines up with the king.
Yeah.
Fabi's trying.
Another trap.
So if you go...
This is
there a right square, or do you have too many options still?
But it's a fun little trap, and again, instructive for the viewers, because Fabi knows that the moment you push this pawn, you might as well just extend your hand and offer the draw, because the king will officially have no more checks, whether they're coming horizontally or laterally. So this move keeps the hope alive. It keeps the dream alive that you might have a way to shield your king from checks. Even if it's still a draw, at least you're making Magnus work for it still.
He continues. He does it. Every time the rook and the king line up with this discovered check that you're talking about, Magnus sidesteps it on the other rank.
If the king runs over, I guess there are a couple options. You might actually just be able to bring the king over at this point and get to the other way you draw these rook endings when it's a corner pawn.
Yep.
Isn't it easiest to bring the rook to f6 and then just start checking again?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
We might see that, by the way, because king c7 is on the board. So Magnus, he reaches for the rook.
And indeed, he plays the line you suggested, pointing out that, once again, the king is too weak, too slow, can't quite get out of the way of checks in time. If you push a7, we get the same idea. By the way, again, a7, now the king is close enough to win. So you can't do that.
One thing I'd like to point out, given that we've exhausted everything about the chess board itself, is Magnus's attitude.
Yeah.
You don't see him leaning back. You don't see him bored. You don't see him thinking, why don't you just give me the draw already? Look at his body language. He's saying, I remain focused. I'm not, whatever I'm going to do, I'm going to just make sure that I don't slip here. Now, he did make mistakes earlier in the game, but even in this position, which we can see is dead drawn, and many of us would be like, yo, why don't you just give me the draw? What are you doing? Why are you still playing? Magnus is eyeballing everything. The closer he gets to the finish line, the more he knows it is just a draw. And now Fabi just played a move that's pointlessly a draw, just to be fancy.
We will see the handshake.
And there it is. And we get the handshake.
Magnus Carlsen.